Hey guys, I'm Adam Cesare, and today with all the news coming out about the newest adaptation of Stephen King's It, I thought it'd be fun to do a clown-centric episode. So today's movie is Clown, directed by Jon Watt and presented by Eli Roth. I don't usually talk about how the films I review are produced, but this is actually kind of an interesting and pertinent story to where we're talking, because YouTube basically gave birth to this movie. 5 or 6 years ago, so like 2010, Jon Watts and his co-writer Christopher Ford, they made a short trailer for a fake movie called Clown, which is a body horror movie, kind of a take on David Cronenberg's version of The Fly, where a guy puts on a clown costume and starts transforming into a clown. As kind of the end joke of this trailer, they attached Eli Roth's name to it, even as kind of, I guess, a joke or an attention grabber. Eli Roth had to come out and say, like, I have nothing to do with this thing, but I like these guys. And the story goes that he helped get this film produced. Now, if you're watching this and you're not in the US, if you're in the UK or Europe, you may be like, Adam, why are you talking about a movie that's a couple years old, came out in 2014. Well, for us here in the United States, this movie has only just been released this month. Usually when movies like this sit on the shelf for a while, it's kind of like a red flag. It's like, why is this movie not coming out when it looks, professionally produced? Maybe it's a real dog. After seeing Clown, after renting it this weekend, I really can't tell why Dimension would have sat on it for so long. It's Jon Watts' debut feature, but he's made one and a half since, I guess, because he made Cop Car with Kevin Bacon, and he's Marvel's pick to do the new Spider-Man movie. So this guy is almost taking the Peter Jackson route of starting out with a sicky, cheap horror movie and moving to great heights. And I sound enthusiastic about the movie, and I am. I really did like it, and I think you should rent it. It's actually a cheaper rental. It's only like $5. But I didn't love it, and I think Clown is 2/3 of a really good movie. So first two acts, right in the very beginning, we get everything starts moving very quickly. Before the credits are over, our main character has put on the clown suit to save his son's kind of birthday party, and then realizes he can't get the nose or the hair or the suit itself off of him, and begins this kind of slow body horror transformation. And it sounds like a really, really silly concept, but the really smart thing that Clown does is that it plays everything completely straight. Even if there are touches of dark humor, there is dark comedy in it. It is a pretty straightforward, not played as a parody, maybe self-aware but not self-parodying monster movie. And that's my biggest problem with the movie too, because the final third of it, when the first two acts, you kind of think you know where everything's going, and in classic body horror fashion, you're kind of like, oh, well, this guy's doomed, and then around the second act, there are some twists introduced that you're like, well, maybe not. Maybe there's going to be a way out of this for him, and it's not going to be kind of a Wolfman type situation. But then the third act, our perspective switches to follow his wife. She kind of becomes the final girl protagonist, and the whole final act, it just didn't do it for me. Even though there's a really cool sequence where the clown is in a Chuck E. Cheese menacing children, a beautifully shot sequence, a really cool kind of like Jaws with a clown sequence. But the whole ending, everything plays out exactly like you'd expect it to. But that doesn't mean that the first two acts, which kind of have this, the humor is so dry and so dark that it feels almost Coen Brothers-esque. The makeup's really cool. Some of the gags, pulling off the rubber nose is almost a little bit of an all-timer body horror gag. It's great. And because the movie's not self-parody, it doesn't feel like a joke. It's able to have like kind of smart, really, really dark themes. For a movie about a guy transforming into a killer clown, you wouldn't expect there to be thematic weight like there is in like Fritz Lang's M, another movie about a child murderer, maybe a little bit more highly regarded. But this is a cool, smarter than it looks movie that unfortunately devolves in its final 20 minutes. So Clown, directed by Jon Watts. I highly recommend you check it out, but with the caveat that it does become your normal monster movie at the end. But it's a good movie, and there's no reason it should have taken this long to come to the US. Today's book recommendation, since we're on the subject of killer clowns, is kind of a threefer. The first book is by Carlton Mellick III, and if you know that name, then you know the genre he writes in is Bizarro, the genre he helped kind of invent. He's definitely going to be an acquired taste. Clownfellas is a novella collection of linked novellas that was kind of sold as a novel where the clowns aren't exactly evil, but it is a clown mobster society. Not the book I'd recommend you start with him, even though I wanted to say that to get the clown link in here. The books I recommend you start with, if you were more kind of straightforward horror fan, if you like slashers, I'd say his book Apeshit. Really weird, really funny. Will give you an idea of his flavor of Bizarro. If you haven't read any Bizarro, you'll get an idea of it. And if you really want to go further into the Bizarro deep end, I Knocked Up Satan's Daughter, where the protagonist knocks up Satan's daughter and lives in a house he's made of Legos. Maybe a little bit more for everyone, but still not exactly for kids. Dead Clown Barbecue by Jeff Strand. And there is no real evil clown connection in this book either, beyond the introduction. If you like the kind of thing that Clown is marketed as, horror comedy, even though it's not specifically very funny, Jeff Strand has you covered because stuff is scary and gross and funny, and this collection of short stories kind of ranges his career and ranges his different tones that he handles. He does do serious stuff, but it's mostly horror comedy in here. Okay, that's it for this week. Be sure to like, subscribe if you haven't. Check out my other videos, check out my other reviews. I always do a movie review and a book pairing for each episode. And sometimes you get more than one. And I don't really have anything of my own. I'm a writer. I don't have anything of my own to pimp this episode, but I've realized I've done 13 videos on YouTube and have never once mentioned my friend Mike Lombardo. Give him a shout out. He runs Real Splatter Productions. He's a makeup effects and director. He did a trailer for a book that I wrote called Zero Lives Remaining, which was released by Shock Totem. It is a haunted house novella, but where the house is a video arcade. He did this cool, like, splattery 80s style trailer. It's only a minute. I'll put a card up now, and then I'll put the link in the description. Go check that out and subscribe to Real Splatter Productions because Mike does some amazing stuff.